Hello and welcome to the Daily Debate Live Thursdays with Taghreed Hussein here on Nile TV International. Tonight we have more than one important topic. However, the headline was the wrap-up of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi wrapping up the 6th participation of the UN General Assembly meetings. That was of great significance. The President gave a speech during the meeting at the United Nations General Assembly, and also as the chairman of the African Union. The head of state has held since then also their high-level meetings on the sidelines of the 74th session of the UN General Assembly, and he tackled with world leaders important issues vis-a-vis regional and international issues of mutual concern. And also His Excellency met with the heads of world organizations also on the sidelines. So it was also very important, His Excellency, to meet with them and to review important regional and international issues. Having all the pleasure to have with us His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Mohamed Hegazy, former Assistant to the Foreign Minister, to read with us the messages of His Excellency President al-Sisi during this round of the General Assembly.
Thank
Ambassador.
you very much, Taghreed. It's always my pleasure being with you in this very important program, and I'm very happy to comment on one of the most important visit to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, or the 6th participation in the UN General Assembly. Of course, the UN General Assembly 74th session came on a very critical time where conflicts were prevailing in many parts of the world, where the international commitments vis-a-vis issues pertaining to international interest, particularly climate change and many other issues, that was part of the agenda of this year General Assembly meeting, and I'm sure that the speeches given in the high-level summits, 5 summits in a row, was very important. But the inaugural speech, or the speech given by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, in itself wrapped up all what is related to bilateral issues, regional issues, and issues pertaining to international agenda.
Yeah, we'll read together more the agenda of the important summit, and also His Excellency the President's messages at the UN General Assembly. But allow me, Ambassador, also to take your point of view concerning a very special experience that Nile TV had delved through earlier in the day, and that I humbly consider a very important cornerstone that happened today, earlier Thursday. Nile TV International and the French channel TV5 Monde had held a joint broadcast earlier in the day between 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Cairo local time. Nile TV International was represented by our dear colleague Noha Ale and by Aya Shell, and also other members of a team who really crystallized a great effort and put great passion in that important work. They had great passion for Egypt and also for their channel, for Nile TV International. The joint broadcast was part of TV5's special day on the Francophone countries. The 1-hour broadcast reviewed aspects of the Francophonie, the cultural life in Egypt, Egypt's ties with the Francophone nations, and we had always the pleasure to have similar experiences here on Nile TV International, whether it happened before with China, with a number of other countries, with France, and also with Kazakhstan. And one of the bright faces who has been seen earlier in the day on that beautiful show was our dear colleague Noha Ale, the presenter at the French section at Nile TV International. Noha, I would say congratulations to a very bright face of Egypt and of Nile TV International. I'm really proud of you, and you were great. You really excelled today. How do you feel? Lots of calls, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Taghreed. I'm so excited because it was my first time in a TV show, French TV show, and it was my first time that I represent Egypt on my TV channel, which is Nile TV, to the world. So it was very, very excited. So I want to thank to Mr. Hassan Zain. He gives me this chance, and I want to thank you, Taghreed, because you support me all the time, and thank you, Tarid, because Nile TV it's a very big channel, but every excuse my English because it's not very good.
But we can have the message, definitely.
I'm proud because around the world now they know that there is Nile TV in English and in French, and we have capacities, and this is the more thing important that I was
trying to disseminate. Yes.
Yeah.
That was great, Noha. You were great. I love the ambience. It was from the Ministerly Palace, and it was Nile TV's message to the whole world. What is really important is how to market Egypt to the world today. It's our soft power. I loved Farah Debani and her performance, and
she
and
was
also
very good, and we have a lot of young people like Farah. So this project, it was a good idea to show the world that we have good young people, and this was the first time they do this in Egypt. But I think next year we will be there too.
That would be great, and I'm really happy for that international exchange. This is Egypt's soft power. This is Nile TV International, the ambassador and the voice of Egypt to the whole world. Noha, my dear colleague, congratulations to Nile TV.
Thank you for your support.
And congratulations to all the team. I'm really proud of you. Let's see excerpts of that beautiful show that we've seen, and we'll be back to His Excellency Ambassador Hegazy to take his point of view of such a beautiful exchange.
Avec un bonheur total.
Exactement. Je tiens aussi à remercier TV5 Monde de nous avoir donné l'occasion donc de nous montrer notre très beau pays avec tous nos invités qui nous ont fait le plaisir d'être avec nous. Merci à vous. Merci à toi, Mohamed. Et justement, tout de suite, Farah, on va parler d'une autre chanteuse que vous aimez, qui vous a inspiré, Dalida. Vous allez interpréter Helwa Baladi.
Oui. Helwa Baladi.
Pour nous et pour tous les francophones, en fait.
Eh ben, c'est à vous. A cappella.
كلمة حلوة وكلمتين حلوة يا بلدي غنوة حلوة وغنوتين حلوة يا بلدي أملي دايما كان يا بلدي إني أرجع لك يا بلدي وأفضل دايما جنبك على طول
Merci beaucoup Farah El Dibani. Noah, encore merci, vraiment c'est un plaisir, TV5 Monde et tout.
Ambassador, before delving into the presidential agenda, this is also Egypt's soft power, and it's very important to disseminate our culture. It's a very important point of strength for the country.
Well, let me at the outset congratulate Noha for a very well-presented joint program, and the celebration of the Francophonie really brings Egypt France relation to where it belongs. This is part of our culture, and we are very proud that this year Nile TV has brought us to this height in our relations with France and with the Francophonie in general. I think the Nile TV has a message to send to the world. This is Egypt in their language, French and English, and I'm sure that Nile TV has a capacity to represent Egypt soft power. As you said, it's the true media ambassador to Egypt, and through such an important programs, I call even upon our dear colleagues in the French embassy to seek support to our staff here, to train, to facilitate study visits and study tours, and I'm sure a lot can be gained through this cooperation pioneered by the Nile TV and of course with your guidance and support.
Thank you, Ambassador Hegazy, and His Excellency had also, through his guidance and through his support, he had presented not only Egypt's vision, but Africa's vision at the General Assembly meetings this year, at the 6th participation, a very important participation, and this year, while Egypt is wearing the hat of the chairmanship of the African Union.
I think the President was a true representative of his nation, his region, being it the Arab world or Africa, and he also is a world leader, where his participation in the 5 pillars or the 5 summits, high-level summits, were well heard. Being it in the climate issue, as he was the representative of Africa in the Paris Agreement 2018, and he also spoke on behalf of Africa when it comes to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals High-Level Summit, and then in the finance of development, he was also vocal on behalf of Africa that this is the way forward. If our partners would like to see Africa progress, this is in their favor. This will lead to stability and definitely in curbing on terrorism, an issue that he has an integrative vision. We need to support development in countries to allow our youth to settle in their own countries without really moving towards illegal immigration or falling into the trap of terrorism. The President has covered many issues pertaining to Egypt itself and its relations with one of the most important strategic partners, the United States. We've seen the high level, the summit level with President Trump, and how President Trump really values the relations with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and with Egypt in general as a pillar of stability in the Middle East. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was mentioned as a leader who have brought stability to a very turmoil region. Back again to the relations with the United States, the meeting with the business community and the high-level meeting he held with the American leaders and the opinion leaders was very important meeting. The President moved further to speak about the Arab world, and in his very important speech, he spoke about all issues pertaining to our region and to Africa as well, and to the third world.
Yes, very important messages that were sent by His Excellency the President. Also, the visits on the sidelines were really important, seeing world leaders vis-a-vis the regional and international developments. It's always very important to see them face to face and to coordinate and to talk. And we saw the cordial atmosphere, how they really received the President cordially, welcoming, and we saw them smiling. We saw also the world leaders, the leaders of the world on one table.
And this is also the highlight of the multilateralism. The UN General Assembly is the most important organ of the UN system, and it is one of 6 organs that composes the UN. And I'm sure that the General Assembly was 193 members, 91 of them were present. Gives all the leaders the opportunity to tackle their bilateral issues, like President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi meeting almost an important part of the leaders in all aspects, being it an African issues or issues related to Egypt and its economic drive, as well as the international issues that needs to be settled. So bilateral ties were one of the most important part of the activities of the President, but the multilateralism in this very critical time, Taghreed, is very important. The meeting is a true representation of multilateralism vis-a-vis America First, vis-a-vis unilateralism, vis-a-vis the separation of Britain or the Brexit from the European Union, the vision vis-à-vis cohesion. And I'm sure that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi participation for the 6th time in a row shows how Egypt adheres to international legality, to the appreciation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi rule. We can see how world leaders were keen to meet him. President Trump have selected few leaders to meet. One of them was President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who was sitting in the dining table in the official evening with Guterres, President Trump, Merkel, and all the world leaders. One of the photos that really shows how Egypt rule and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was appreciated, representing a very important region and representing a promising continent. And I'm sure that he spoke highly about his country, about his Arab world issues, but Palestine was among the most important issues, Syria, Libya, Yemen, and stability, terrorism, and many other issues related to this part of the world. But he spoke as a sincere son of Africa. He spoke very high about African challenges, hopes and dreams, and he expressed himself in clarity. In 3 minutes, I remember in the Sustainable Development Summit, he gave the world community a sense of a very responsible leader who called the international community to carry their responsibility in supporting Africa through the challenge of development.
Yes, very important, and talking about a sincere son of Africa, talking Africa's aspirations, and His Excellency also talking Africa's dreams, talking about the future generations of Africa, talking health, talking youth, talking also women empowerment. We'll be back with more details. This report, and we'll be back.
الرحمن الرحيم. السيد الرئيس، يسعدني بداية أن أقدم لكم خالص التهنئة على توليكم رئاسة الجمعية العامة.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said that the Nile water is a matter of life and existence for Egypt, and urged the international community to convince all parties to be flexible and resume negotiations. Addressing the UN General Assembly in New York on Tuesday, el-Sisi said that although Egypt understands Ethiopia's situation regarding the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, Ethiopia did not conduct sufficient studies concerning this massive project. He said that Egypt signed the Declaration of Principles in 2015, which launched the 4-year-long negotiations to reach an agreement regarding the process of filling and operating the dam. The president said that unfortunately the negotiations have not reached the desired results, adding that Egypt still has hopes for reaching an agreement that guarantees the interests of Ethiopia, Sudan and Egypt. The head of state said the repeated stalemates in negotiations will have negative repercussions on stability and development in the region in general and in Egypt in particular. El-Sisi stressed the necessity of ensuring that every nation can come up with solutions to its own problems, and that Egypt has been successful in this regard with its war against terrorism and its economic reforms, which are considered the most ambitious in Egypt's modern history. On regional issues, the president said that the Palestinian issue needs an urgent solution based on international resolutions, because the continued existence of this dilemma means a long-term drain on the Middle East region. The president stressed that now is the time for a decisive stand to put an end to the conflict in Yemen by implementing political solutions, ending interference from non-Arab regional parties that seek to undermine Arab national security, and countering the unprecedented threats facing the Arab Gulf region, whether the threats of navigation or the attacks against petroleum institutions in Saudi Arabia. He added that the same should be applied on Syria and Libya. President el-Sisi also called for Sudan to be removed from the UN list of state sponsors of terror after the recent change in the country's political situation. And on Africa, the president also said that Egypt has an inclusive plan to help African countries with reconstruction and development, especially those suffering from long-term conflicts.
بالمشاركة مع أشقائنا.
تحية تقدير واحترام لبطل حقيقي. البطل ده هو مصر وشعبها. الحكاية مش حكاية لا حكومة ولا قيادة، ده حكاية كل مواطن في مصر. أكرمت مصر وشرفت مصر وعزيت مصر، انتم قتلتم. فالشرف كل الشرف والكرامة كل الكرامة والفضل كل الفضل لله سبحانه وتعالى، ثم ليكم انتم. شرفتوني واكرمتموني وعزتوني ورفعتوا راسي قدام الدنيا كلها باللي انتوا عملتوه. والله 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 لن يستطيع اي رئيس يقف مكاني هنا انه يقدر يعمل حاجه بدونكم. لن يستطيع. قصه وطن يتحدث عن نفسه، شعب أراد الحياة فاستجاب له القدر.
Well, welcome back, and we do have here a very rich visit, Ambassador. We have on the sidelines meetings with world leaders and also bilateral cooperation and also speaking business, talking about messages, also climate change. I guess this is the picture that we were narrating here, a story of how Egypt is a heavyweight and a warm reception given to His Excellency the President.
This is the official dinner in the eve of the inauguration of the first session, and here we can see the President among the world leader, a manifestation of the respect that he enjoys, as well as the true message he can speak about Africa, about the region, and about Egypt. And I'm sure that his meeting with Chancellor Merkel, with Guterres and President Trump and other world leaders on the table, and on the bilateral summits he held with each of them. It's part of the success of such an important visit that first you express yourself to the host country. The United States is a strategic partner, and you need to present Egypt as an attractive investment opportunity, and you inform the business leaders and most important companies and opinion leaders about progress made in Egypt, and on the bilateral ties also. This is very important avenue where 91 leaders were presented. But what is important about this picture, it shows really where Egypt is well situated, expressing its hopes and its challenges, and then represent Africa as well as the Arab world and the challenges that is faced in the region. I think everybody need to listen to Egypt when it comes to the challenges facing the world community. When it comes to settling disputes, he spoke about the nation state and the importance of supporting the nation state to regain back cohesion in societies that is now in a disarray, allowing militias and terrorism to prevail. Second, when he speaks about the responsibility of our partners, and he highlighted the importance of multilateralism vis-a-vis unilateralism, which has brought us to trade wars, to isolation, and to threaten our economic drive. So he called the international community to carry their responsibilities. And with Guterres, the Secretary General, he spoke about the importance of the role of the United Nations as a venue for multilateralism, of bringing in legality to action. And I'm sure when he spoke about settling disputes in his speech, he highlighted the Palestinian issue. And this is very important because Palestine needs the diplomatic support required from all parties, particularly when there is a talk about the deal of the century and the pressure that is endured by the Palestinian leadership over the past few years by the American administration. We need to talk clearly that we all, with the legitimate right of the Palestinian.
And Egypt had supported the Palestinian cause all throughout the way. The president talked about the support to the Palestinian cause in New York, and also talked, Ambassador, about the Nile water as a matter of existence for Egypt.
One of the most important part of the speech to me, and what is new, was the reference made to the Nile water. Our view on the Nile water was always raised in bilateral or trilateral meetings between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan, through which, and I was very close to this file, and I know that Egypt's position is a position which is in full conformity with legality and justice. Egypt has one river. It is the livelihood of 100 million living over the two banks of the Nile. You can see Egypt image from any satellite image. You can see a desert right and left, and only one green tributary, which is the Nile River. One river and one life, and we cannot risk the life of 100 millions. This is an act that needs to be considered. I'm sure that civilized nation can always talk. Ethiopia is a civilized nation and has to understand that it is never been an issue of scarcity. It's always about good management. And managing the water to the benefit of the three countries is technically possible. It needs political will, and we as technicians or experts can find the legal framework, can find the technical way to harmonize the relation between the three engineering installations or dam in the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or the Sudanese dams, or the high dam in Egypt. We can coordinate the water like we did with Uganda in 1953 when we inaugurated the height of the Owen Falls Dam, and even Egypt paid to the construction of this dam to regulate the water coming out of Lake Victoria towards the Nile to the electricity benefit of Uganda, and for stopping 1 meter to be sent to Egypt in the dry season. And I'm sure that this kind of management and cooperation, water is a God-given substance. It is not an issue of one country prevailing over the others.
God gift.
And the Nile is like any other river, is an ecosystem, has to be managed in a collective manner. So I'm always promoting the cooperative framework of the Eastern Nile Basin, where we can link Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan with a railway, with a power grid, and I think we can also manage together the water between the three countries through resident missions like we do in the Owen Fall in Uganda. And through this regional project, we can truly bring Ethiopia, even as a landlocked country, to the Mediterranean. So the regional approach to cooperation will bring water to be part of an integrated approach where railway, as I said, roadway and power grid as a solution. And I think we are discussing only the years, because the geology of the Eastern Nile and the fall of the river from the heights of the Ethiopian platform brings us to believe that the dam will be filled by virtue of geography, by virtue of geology. So let us agree on a just and legal framework in which we three countries, Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia, agree on the years of filling without harming any of the parties, to the benefit, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi put it rightly, to the benefit of the development in Ethiopia, and of course to the regulation of the Nile to Sudan and Egypt share of the Nile water.
Yes. Well, citing solutions, His Excellency had urged the international community to practice flexibility. And flexibility is a key word when we're talking the resumption of negotiations.
I think flexibility, legality, justice.
Yes.
I think those are the three binding terms that has to be used, because this is flexibility means political will, means understanding others' needs, and justice, because you cannot really see Egypt being harmed. And I don't think at any moment, I remember I was in Berlin as ambassador, and I spoke to Prime Minister of Ethiopia at that time, Mr. Desalegn. And I asked him, Mr. Prime Minister, how do you see the issue of the Renaissance Dam progressing and developing? He said, Ambassador, I told him that I studied water issues for years. And he said, I did also study water issues. And let me assure you that all over history,